everybody. Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux, taking a look at the Grade 1 Mar Debutante on Saturday. Let's throw up the field for race number 4. Two-year-old fillies going 7/8 of a mile. $300,000 is the purse. We have a field of 7 in here. This could be a nice building block to a race like the Chandelier at Santa Anita going 2 turns. And then, of course, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies on the horizon.
Absolutely. And kind of looking at the race, I think Nooney will be the main talk, but even horses such as Tenma, her stablemate Vodka with a Twist, who's a little bit more foundation than the other two. They'll be taking some respect in here as well. And it's going to be interesting to see how this race plays out. There are a couple of horses that scored on debut, then they disappointed in their following outings, or they tried the turf. Now they're going to try the dirt. So there's a lot of unknowns with these 2-year-old fillies.
Bob Baffert has 2 fillies in this race with differing running styles. Let's throw up the time form U.S. pace projector. We know Nooney is fast. She went gate to wire in her first 2 starts, including the Sorrento earlier this meet, but she might face a little bit of pace pressure this time from the number 1 Proud Starlet, a quick debut winner for Tim Yakteen.
Yeah, Proud Start was a big price in her debut, but you mentioned it. She was very quick. You look at the splits that she was able to rattle off. The opening quarter, faster than what Nooney was able to do. Now, Nooney went a little bit further, 6 furlongs compared to Proud Starlet's 5.5 furlong debut, but they're both drawn towards the inside. And I have to think, just knowing kind of this race, that the pace should be at least modest, if not fast early.
And if the pace is quick, keep an eye on the 7, Jack's Magic Girl, who made a winning debut going a mile on the turf at Del Mar. That race gave her the fastest time form U.S. late pace rating. The other Baffert, the 6, Tenma, also figures to be coming from off the pace. Let's kick things off with the number 1 Proud Starlet. Good-looking debut win, shrugged off the other speed, keeps on going to win by open lengths, and was flattered when the 3rd place finisher came back to graduate in a maiden special on turf with an 81 buyer.
Yeah, it definitely flatters her. That thought process, ran a really nice race next time out, and maybe the case for that filly switching surfaces. Now, I don't think it flatters her as nicely that the runner-up, Usha, was just racing at Del Mar not too long ago, a couple of days ago, and didn't run well in that spot, finished 3rd best, a well-beaten 3rd. So we'll see. I thought, though, all in all, if you just look at this filly individually, she ran very professionally on the front end. We talked about it with the pace projection. She was quick. Now she's going to have to go further, just like many in here, 5.5 to 7/8. But hard to ignore her last time out. The betting public ignored her. She was 18-1 in that debut. But the barn has done very well. And they're 2-year-olds. They do fairly well, even though they sometimes fly under the radar.
Rail draw, though, kind of forces the jock's hand here. Proud Starlet has to go because she is inside a quick one in Nooney. And I like the progression and distance here from Baffert. The debut at 5, then this race, the Sorrento, at 6 furlongs, where, again, she showed good early speed. She's cruising into the stretch, and she wins this race in more professional fashion than in the brilliant way she won her debut, but she got a big buyer speed figure of 81.
Yeah, she had to go from Santa Anita to Del Mar. She got the additional 1/8 of a mile, no issue. And, she'll face Vodka with a Twist again. And Vodka with a Twist tried to close from off of it. She was a well-met second, but no one was getting to Nooney in this race. And I think just looking at the way she's been handled, obviously the expectations were high for her. She was a huge purchase price at $1.8 million. She's done everything right to this point. So to think that she can continue this to move forward and continue to go along here, it's not really a far-fetched idea.
The number 3, So There She Was, has been treated like a nice filly by trainer Doug O'Neill. Despite being beaten by a couple of these already, they shipped her to Churchill Downs second time out. She earned a stakes placing, and then she came right back to Del Mar with a sharp victory from off the pace. And that running style might work very well in this race because she can tuck in behind the 1 and the 2 in the second flight.
I like that she's been able to ship and still has run well, and then came back and was able to finally graduate. And you wonder if the pace is hot enough. Can she at least get a piece in here? I think that's possible. The one thing I don't like, Dan, is that her figures have just been stagnant, right? They've stayed in that same range, 68, 69. That's sort of where she's topped off at this point. But maybe that has to do with the races. Obviously, you mentioned she hit the road. She had to tackle the off going at Churchill, which is rare for these California horse 2-year-olds. They don't really see that out there. So, she's done everything right to this point. I think if you like her in here, you're going to get a lot of value on her.
The 4, Vodka with a Twist, was based in Kentucky, and she got the job done over that wet track in the debutante over So There She Was. And we saw her finish a good second in the Sorrento, a race controlled from start to finish by Nooney. Nooney might face more pressure this time around. I can certainly see Vodka with a Twist pulling a good trip and coming with a nice kick.
I think that was the key last time out. Sure, she doesn't beat Nooney, but she actually had to rate. And, You could say she rated on her debut, but I just feel like, Dan, with those 4.5 furlong sprints, there's really no option. Everyone wants to gun for position, and there's just horses that are quicker. Where I feel like last time out at the 6 furlong distance, she actually had to rate, right? There was no option. And the way that she was able to do it and settle and then pass a horse, I thought it was good. Did get a little worked up before that race. Maybe she'll be able to take a little step forward if she can kind of keep herself together. But I think there's some upside for her as well. We talked about, so there she was, maybe a little further back than this filly. Maybe Vodka with a Twist is in the right spot early.
Night Beacon, the number 5, showed big speed in her debut, going 4.5 furlongs, and they could not catch her as the odds-on favorite. They tested her last time out in the Sorrento, and she just was not as quick as Nooney, and she just did not like to race in behind horses. I'm assuming they're going to try to be more aggressive with her on the outside. I'm just not sure she's as quick as the 1 or the 2.
I don't think she's necessarily as quick. I think the other issue is these other horses have a little bit more of a recent form. She had a little, bit of a break in between her races from 4.5 to 6 furlongs. So maybe there's some upside there. Maybe she can take a step forward, second time out. I just didn't love her performance in the Sorrento. She was training well for that race. She continues to train well, but she has those flashy works. And I wonder if, while speed is her best asset, if she's sort of compromised here with so much speed in the field.
The number 6, Tenma, was a big-ticket 2-year-old in training for Baffert. And while those sales usually produce fast speed horses, Tenma's debut makes me think that maybe she wants even a little bit more ground. Here's her debut going 5.5, and she was wide at the back of the pack in the early portion of this race. She makes a 3-wide bid turning into the stretch. They go right by the aforementioned Usha, who is the pace setter and has just been disappointing throughout in her career. But I like that Tenma had to fight the last 16th of a mile, and she's always finding a little bit more.
Yeah, this was a really good performance. And I think, the idea here is she missed the break. She was able to regather and get herself going, and she still ended up winning. She also didn't go off favorite in there. You mentioned Usha took a lot of play. The stablemate, she went off at 6-1. Tenma, to me, the distance isn't an issue. She's bred for the distance. Another one where you look at Bob Baffert's sales prices, there's expectations here. There's expectations to be very good. And from what we've seen so far in that limited sample, just that one start, very good performance. She seems like she's training actually a little bit quicker since then as well. So obviously another logical hero horse that you could certainly use on the top spot if you're so intrigued to do so.
The 7, Jack's Magic Girl, is actually turning back in distance. It's never easy to win a 2-turn route first time out, and that's exactly what Jack's Magic Girl did. And she looked very, very good doing it, and she's got some dirt pedigree. I actually prefer the good magics on dirt than turf, and she's a half to a stakes place dirt miler, so she has some pedigree. She might have the right running style for this race. I'm really curious to see what we get for her. They're really placing her ambitiously.
They are, but this is a barn that also is able to move their horses from turf to dirt and have a lot of success doing so. We don't always see that. Obviously, it's a big ask of her, right? We're going to step up to stakes competition. We're going to try the dirt for the first time. We're going to cut back. But if one thing's for certain, with the outside draw on her running style, Dan, I don't think she'll be forward from here. She's really going to need to close from off of it. She will need to get the pace help. She'll likely get more pace help on the dirt than she would on the turf. But we'll see what happens here. From a figure standpoint, her figure was a little light, but it was her debut, different surface. So, this is probably, if you look at the field, to me, there's the most question marks around her just because she was able to win on debut, but very different ball game.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 1 Mar Debutante. We're going with Baffert, just the different Baffert. You're going with Nooney on top. She figures to be right there when they turn for home.
Yeah, if you want to try to knock her, maybe it's the fact that she's probably going to have some friendly competition towards her inside early in the form of Proud Starlet. Maybe she'll get pressed in here. Maybe she won't be able to get the 7/8 distance with the pressure. But so far, I thought she looked very good in her 2 performances. I do think she might have the edge on some, just having the jump and having the early foot. And we'll just see if she can get that extra furlong.
I'm not sure how much I'm going to put into this race, if any, because I like the 2 Bafferts, and I don't think I'm going to get a price on either one of them. I'm curious to see if Tenma can back up that good debut going a little bit longer against tougher competition, because that was a nice, strong closing kick. Curious to see her stretch out maybe around 2 turns down the road. 6-2-4-1 for me, 2-6-4-1 for Ashley. It's the Grade 1 Mar Debutante, 3 stakes on tap at Del Mar on Saturday. Best of luck.